Thanks so much for tuning into our Stocks to Watch series, where we bring you exciting, informative, and innovative stories from company executives globally. I'm Ashley Berry, and we're welcoming Saf Dhillon, President and Chief Executive Officer of IMetal Resources. The Canadian-based junior exploration company is focused on the exploration and the development of its portfolio of resource properties in Ontario and Québec, Canada. IMetal Resources is trading on the TSXV as IMR, on the OTCQB in the US as IMRFF, and the Frankfurt Exchange as A7V. Saf, I am so excited you're here with us today. Welcome to Stocks to Watch.
Hi, Ashley. Thanks for having us here.
Well, it's a true pleasure. So for our viewers who are not familiar with your company, maybe you can tell us a little bit more about IMetal Resources and the unique capabilities it has.
Okay, sure. Actually, yeah, I'm actually really excited to be here because, you know what, IMetal Resources is really a very unique junior mining company. We're Canadian-based. Head office is here in Vancouver. All of our projects are back east in the provinces of Ontario and Quebec. They both happen to be two of the best jurisdictions, mining-friendly, mining infrastructure in place, most prolific producers in the world. All of our projects are located in what's called the Abitibi Greenstone Belt. We're also referred to as the Gold Belt because there's been roughly 200 million ounces of gold produced in this region since the early 1900s. Our flagship property, Gowganda West, is very unique in the sense that it's in the Shining Tree portion, or the lower southern portion of the Abitibi in Ontario. And we're very unique in the sense that we're roughly a $5 million market cap company. We have 150 square kilometers. We share a border with much larger companies, two specifically. One of them is roughly about a $500 million market cap company that actually hosts roughly a 2.5 million ounce gold deposit that actually sits less than 300 meters from our common border. And then further up north on our property, the other company that we share a border with is probably one of the largest gold producers in the world, Agnico Eagle. They're roughly a $32 billion market cap company. So I think that having neighbors like that, and some of our other neighbors are drilling something like 7,000 grams per ton of silver. These are grades that you don't see anywhere else in the world. So I think we're in the right place. Like they say in Business 101, location, location, location. Where's the best place to find gold? Well, probably in the head frame of where it's already been found, less than 300 meters from our border.
Fantastic. Maybe you can kind of dive a little bit deeper and tell us, so you made the announcement over the summer, what are the next steps for that?
Yeah, I think the next steps there are we've completed about 4,600 meters, about a dozen holes. And our plans are to, in the next phase, maybe complete in 2 phases, another 10,000 meters. The really unique, I think, characteristic and positive that we have going for us at Gowganda West is that we're actually situated, we actually share a border with 2 much larger companies. One of them is basically a $500 million market cap. But what's really significant is they are the host of a roughly 2.5 million ounce gold deposit. That deposit actually is about 300 meters, not 3 kilometers, 300 meters from our border. And then we have roughly a $32 billion, one of the largest gold producers in the world that is another one of our neighbors, and they're currently actively drilling there as well. So our plans are really to focus on our flagship property, although we will be drilling on our other projects and we'll go into that. But our focus here is to build on that discovery hole, expand in 2 phases, possibly 5,000 meters at a time. And we're hoping to develop quickly an idea of what the potential size of our potential resource could be.
Yeah, very significant, especially when you talk about the proximity. That's pretty amazing, and it must be incredibly exciting for you. You mentioned Abitibi, the green belt. Maybe we could talk a little bit about Archean greenstone belts and their potential, and about the other advantages of really being an exploration company there in Canada.
Yeah, the Archean type of rock formation, I think, is I don't have a technical background, but what I've learned very quickly is that these are very important. These are actually host rock to some of the primary resources, primarily gold, but they're very polymetallic. You got silver, all copper. all of our neighbors around us who've been been active much longer than we have. They've actually been hitting some very, very high grade numbers. Some of our neighbors are hitting, 7,000 grams of gold per ton. These are numbers that are really unheard of anywhere in the world. Mm-hmm. You can't find these kind of numbers. And, everybody talks about, really high grade in African countries or South American countries. Well, right here in our own backyard in Canada, we have some of the biggest gold producers in the world producing very, very high grade, excellent numbers, and really good production. So we're really excited to be part of, I think, a growing movement in this shining tree camp of the Abitibi.
I like the way you describe that. Perhaps maybe you can elaborate for our audience on the exploration approach specifically and the use of technology and really how it helps you become more effective and efficient.
Well, I think I might have just lightly touched on that. Our technical team is really kind of excited because this Shining Tree Camp, as I mentioned, really doesn't have a lot of exploration here. We've actually been, on our property. This is really kind of, like I said, the maiden discovery hole. But our neighbors now have a wealth of information that's public information in their 43-101. So, our team can basically kind of, I guess you can say, make some comparisons when we're doing our work, whether it's the trenching, the surface sampling, aeromagnetics. All that kind of stuff is preliminary. It's the stuff that you want to get done first before you actually get the drill bit in the ground. Because at the end of the day, once you get the drill bit churning, you want to have it keep churning as much as possible. And that's your most expensive cost. So even though it's the least developed of the region, some of our neighbors have been having a lot of success, and there's public information. So we are able to kind of compare with the rock formation on our property as well.
Yeah, and I would have to imagine when you talk about the neighbors and sort of that information and maybe the sourcing of that kind of information, the partnerships you could potentially develop with your neighbors and with some other folks, to really expand on operations.
Yeah, I can't really say a lot about that at the moment, but I mean, we're still in the very early stages, I think, of our growth story. We're really excited. I don't think that, we have probably had some expressions from different parts of the globe, basically, helping to finance us. But what we really want to do is we really want to grow our little company. All of our projects, I think, all have they're all highly prospective. We really don't know what we have yet. We're only just scratching the surface. So we can't really have an educated conversation with anybody until we know what we have. And we're not going to do that until we have at least 10,000 meters of, additional drilling at each of these properties.
Yeah, well, for everything you're explaining, it sounds like you're well on your way to take this little company to something much bigger. Let's talk about finally next milestones or catalysts that investors should pay attention to in the near future.
Okay, so there's the 4 properties. I've only really talked about Gowganda, but that is our flagship. So we've completed 4,600 meters in 2 phases, made a discovery hole, roughly 50 meters of about a gram. This is actually really important. Again, this sits about 700 meters away from roughly a 2.5 million ounce gold deposit. Plans are to drill another 10,000 meters, possibly expand, do some additional drilling southwest, northeast. And our team thinks that if we can hit the same kind of grades, same kind of width, real quickly, we could be sitting on a couple of 100,000 ounces. That might not sound so exciting in itself, but that is a beginning. But when you put that in context to having a multi-million ounce deposit less than 1,000 meters away, now you're talking about something really big, something really potentially big developing. Our next gold property in Ontario is a Kerrs Gold Deposit. That was an acquisition that we made in the first quarter of 2022. It's roughly about 400,000 ounces at an average grade of 1.7. And plans there are, we actually acquired that, like I said, first quarter of 2022. We didn't have the data. It was drilled really and worked on by one geologist. That data was never really put into a data room. Our team has finally been able to digitize that, and now it's in a Leapfrog program. We can actually now analyze the data in a 3D seismic or a 3D format, have a better understanding. and we think we know where we're going to probably have some high priority targets. We'll be looking to do that sometime early next year. Our third gold project is called Ghost Mountain. It's the least developed of all four of our properties, least developed of our gold properties. But again, it's surrounded on three sides by a major, one of the biggest gold producing companies in the world, Agnico Eagle. And it actually happens to be less than 5 kilometers from actually their Holt Holloway mine. So we're really excited to get some work done on that. That property's never been worked on by anybody. So that's going to be part of our development plans going forward. Our fourth and last but not least is our Carheil Project, which is our sole property in Quebec. It's just across the border. But again, it is surrounded by much larger companies. And one of our neighbors actually in the last quarter of December 2022 announced that they had a major polymetallic discovery. That spurred some flow-through dollars for us last year. We actually put the drill bit into the ground. The project had actually previously, about 7-8 years ago, been drilled, and the previous drillers had hit about 7.5% graphite jumbo flakes. We now, our current program that we just announced earlier this year as well, we encountered 2 more additional layers of graphite, and that analysis is still in the lab. Those results should be coming out fairly soon. But from the core, we actually have, it's being reanalyzed using petrogeographical analysis. But the initial results came back. We're looking at just under 13%. And so we're excited about that as well. So we have 3 gold projects and 1 graphite. So, we're basically covering the base with precious metals and EV for the big push for the electric battery metals.
Very interesting. And as you said, just scratching the surface, but to me, it sounds like there's tremendous potential for all 4 of those major projects currently underway. Saf Dhillon, President and Chief Executive Officer of IMetal Resources, thank you so much for joining us here on Stocks to Watch, and we look forward to sharing additional updates with our audience.
Thanks for having us, Ashley.